Welcome back to the HIV RNA Test Guide podcast. Your trusted source for reliable information on HIV testing prevention and treatment.
Absolutely.
And today, we're doing a deep dive into something that, well, it could potentially be a huge development in our shared mission.
We're talking about the experimental mRNA 1774 HIV vaccine.
Exactly. It's a collaboration between Moderna and the NIH, the National Institutes of Health.
And it's definitely generating some excitement. It uses that mRNA technology we've heard so much about recently.
So our plan today is to really unpack this. What is this vaccine? How does the science work? Where are things at right now in terms of trials?
And importantly, what could it mean down the line for HIV prevention? The work that all of you are so involved in.
It really feels like it could be a significant step, building on decades of research.
Decades, absolutely. The search for an effective HIV vaccine has been long and, frankly, quite challenging.
Maybe before we get into the specifics of this vaccine, let's just quickly touch on the basics for anyone maybe newer to the field tuning in.
Good idea. So HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus, it attacks the immune system, specifically the CD4 cells.
Right, the body's defense system. And if it's not treated, it can lead to AIDS.
Correct. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Now, we have amazing treatments, antiretroviral therapy, RT. People with HIV can live long, healthy lives.
Which is fantastic progress.
Yeah.
But those are treatments, not prevention.
Exactly. A vaccine aims to prevent infection in the first place. That's been the holy grail, really, in HIV research for a long time. A huge goal for global health.
And for everyone working in testing, a successful vaccine would obviously change the landscape quite a bit.
Potentially, yes. A major tool added to the prevention toolkit alongside testing, PPRP, treatment as prevention, and everything else.
Okay, so let's dive into this mRNA 1.74 vaccine. What makes it different? You mentioned the mRNA tech.
Yes, that's the core of it. It uses messenger RNA. Instead of injecting a weakened virus or just a viral protein, it gives your own body's cells instructions.
Instructions to do what?
To produce specific bits of the HIV virus. In this case, parts of its outer shell, the envelope proteins.
Ah, okay, so the body makes these non-infectious parts itself.
Precisely. The mRNA tells your cells, okay, make this specific protein structure. These proteins then get presented to your immune system.
And the immune system sees them as foreign.
It should, yes.
Yeah.
It recognizes them and thinks, hold on, this isn't supposed to be here, even though it's just a piece of the virus, not the whole thing. And then it starts building defenses, primarily antibodies.
It sounds very much like the principle behind some of the COVID-19 vaccines.
It is very similar. The success and, importantly, the speed of development for the COVID mRNA vaccines really gave a boost to using this platform for other tricky viruses, like HIV.
So the mRNA gets into the cells, they make these envelope proteins. How does that actually stop someone from getting HIV later on?
Well, the idea is that by making these proteins, the immune system learns to recognize them. It produces antibodies specifically targeted against those envelope proteins.
Like target practice?
Sort of, yeah. So if the actual HIV virus enters the body later, the immune system is already primed. It has these antibodies ready to go.
Ready to attack the real virus?
Hopefully, yes. The goal is for these antibodies to latch onto the virus's envelope proteins and neutralize it, basically stop it from infecting the body's cells.
Now, I remember reading that HIV is notoriously tricky because it changes so much. There are so many different strains. Does that pose a problem?
It's the major problem, historically. And that's why the focus here is on generating what are called broadly neutralizing antibodies, or BNAbs.
Broadly neutralizing, meaning they work against lots of different HIV versions.
Exactly. Standard antibodies might only hit one specific strain, but because HIV mutates and varies so much, you need antibodies that can recognize and neutralize a wide, diverse range of strains. Eliciting those BNAbs is the critical goal.
That sounds like a huge hurdle to overcome, if it works.
It's certainly the aim. Getting the immune system to produce those powerful, broadly acting antibodies is key.
So where are we with testing this in people? Is it showing promise?
We're in the early stages. It's currently in a phase 1 clinical trial.
Phase 1.
The trial is called HVTN302, and it's sponsored by the NIH.
And phase 1 trials, those are mostly about safety, right? Seeing if there's any immune response.
That's the primary focus, yes. Safety first. They're looking very carefully to make sure the vaccine is well tolerated. And second, they are measuring the immune responses. Are people generating antibodies? And crucially, are they showing signs of producing those broadly neutralizing antibodies we just talked about?
Makes sense. How many people are involved?
It's relatively small for phase 1, around 100 participants. They're all HIV-negative adults aged between 18 and 55.
And how long does a trial like this typically run? When might we see results?
The study is projected to run until about June 2027. That allows enough time to administer the vaccine doses, follow up with participants, collect data, and analyze safety and the initial immune responses.
2027. Okay, so still a ways off. Were there studies before this human trial? Animal studies, perhaps?
Yes, there were preclinical studies, often in non-human primates, and those results were quite encouraging.
Oh, how so?
The vaccinated animals showed a significantly reduced risk of getting infected when they were exposed to an HIV-like virus. That kind of positive data is really what gives researchers the confidence to move into human trials.
That's definitely good news. A positive signal early on. So, looking further ahead, assuming things go well in phase 1 and subsequent trials, what's the potential impact here?
Oh, the potential is enormous. If this vaccine, or one like it, proves safe and effective through phase 2 and phase 3 trials, it could fundamentally change HIV prevention.
A true game changer.
Absolutely. Imagine significantly reducing new infections globally. It would be a massive public health victory and would really complement all the other prevention work, including the crucial testing efforts our listeners are involved in.
It's almost hard to fathom after all this time. You also mentioned this mRNA technology might be useful for other diseases too.
Yes, that's another exciting aspect. If mRNA works well for something as complex as HIV, it really opens doors for tackling other viruses that have been difficult vaccine targets. Think about herpes, or maybe even some forms of cancer immunotherapy. The platform is potentially very versatile.
Fascinating. Now, for our listeners, the practical question. If this is promising, when might we actually see it available? People hear vaccine and get hopeful.
And that hope is important. But we need realistic expectations. Given the current phase 1 timeline ending around 2027 and then needing phase 2 and 3 trials plus regulatory reviews, you're likely looking at 2028 at the earliest, probably later, if everything goes perfectly.
Right. Research takes time and safety is paramount.
Exactly. So for now, all the current prevention tools, testing, PrEP, condoms, treatment as prevention remain absolutely essential. This vaccine is still firmly in the research pipeline.
Good point. And for people interested in maybe participating in this research, is the current trial still recruiting?
The phase 1 trial, HVTN 302, has specific enrollment criteria: HIV-negative adults, 18 to 55. Recruitment might be ongoing or might close at different sites.
How would someone find out more?
The best bet is always to talk to a healthcare provider. They might know about trials. Or people can look at official clinical trial registries like clinicaltrials.gov. That's where studies are listed with details on who can participate and where they are taking place.
Okay, good resources to know. So let's try and wrap this up. What's the main takeaway from our deep dive today on mRNA Forward 74?
I think the key message is that this represents a really significant, hopeful step forward. Using mRNA technology for an HIV vaccine is innovative. It's still early days. Yes, it's phase 1.
But the potential is huge.
The potential impact on global health, and specifically on the field of HIV prevention and testing where our listeners work, could be immense down the road. It's a major scientific effort.
Absolutely. It really underscores the progress being made. And a huge thank you again to everyone listening who works in HIV testing. Your work is critical now, and staying informed about things like this vaccine research is part of that ongoing commitment. We'll definitely keep you updated.
And maybe a final thought to leave with you, our listeners. If this vaccine, or another one, does become widely available, how do you see that changing things? How might it reshape the day-to-day work in testing labs and our whole approach to public health, working alongside the testing and treatment efforts you're already leading?
That's a really interesting question. How does prevention integrate with testing and care in this potential future? Definitely something.